Hello and welcome to the next edition of the Practice Joy Show. I'm Dr. Jody Dinnerman, your Practice Joy Show host. Today's a big one, you guys. We are talking to the brilliant minds of the International Chiropractic Pediatric Association. I'm sitting here with chiropractors from all over the country who spend their time educating doctors and families and kids on how important it is to live a chiropractic lifestyle. So we are going to give you the opportunity to learn more about what the ICPA does. And I'm going to just hand the mic over to my friend John and let him take it away.
Hi, thanks. One of the things that I always like telling people about when I started the ICPA, it was out of kind of necessity. I was out of practice. I had a really interesting experience in practice where it was pretty much like very pain-based, very, a lot of different kinds of people were coming in, but I didn't relate to any of them until the kids came into my practice. And then the kids just lit me up, and I had no idea how to take care of them. And so I was very fortunate to have an opportunity to listen to some of the ICPA doctors in a completely unrelated setting, and I went, ooh, I want what they have. And so when I got back into practice, I took a year off. It was one of the first things that I decided to do. Is I had no clue what I was doing in practice with pregnant women or with kids, and I wanted to learn more. And one of the things that I loved about every single one of the seminars is that everyone who talked about what they did not only seemed like they were absolutely the expert who wrote the book on what they did, but they also just loved it. And they just spoke from a place of just joy about their everyday life. And I said, well, that's very different from my experience in this profession. I think I need to go this direction. And I haven't looked back since.
For the people listening, because our audience members include doctors of all types, practitioners of all types, the common thread is that we are seeking more joy in our experience in wellness practice. Why on earth? I know the answer. I want to hear what you have to say about it. Why would a baby or a kid need a chiropractic adjustment?
Oh, sure. Well, one of the jokes that I say is, well, because they were born. The birth process itself, even hanging out inside of the mom, things can get out of alignment. And the main thing that I think that we all tend to focus on within our organization is that there was something at the very beginning when those two cells got together to make that baby that was some kind of intelligence. And that expression of that intelligence, I think, is valuable. To be able to help that baby stay as healthy and perfect as it possibly can, that intelligence needs to be freely, clearly able to express itself.
I love it. I love it. So John has taught pregnancy and postpartum care for the ICPA since 2018. And has been in family practice for 20 years since at the time this is being recorded. And you've been through a lot in practice. And can you just give us a little bit of information on how you honor joy, express joy, create joy in practice, outside of practice for the people who you serve?
Sure. And I think that's a great way to lead in with. We got hit in my area of Florida by the 5th largest natural disaster ever to hit the U.S. in Hurricane Ian. And we had 3 offices, they all got destroyed. I had 80 families completely lose their homes. And so our area was hurting in a really serious way. And so to be able to look a year from then at where I am now, from having to work in a bus, having to work under a tent, to being able to work in air conditioning, that was a huge amount of resiliency that we needed to figure out how to do that. And a big piece of it was finding, where is your joy? Where is your happiness today? And I'll tell you, there's nothing like having a brand new baby just stare at you and connect in with you while you're working with them to fill your heart when you're having a pretty rough day.
Yeah.
That is really, I think, the thing that helped save me in practice was I was getting just as much back from my patients as I was giving to them.
I've even had times in practice, I've been in practice at the time this is being recorded for 23 years. And there have been times that I look to my practice to show me my continuum, because my practice has been such a continuum of joy in my life. It's been my guiding light. It's been, it's like the big light that sits on the beach and just shows the way. And always when I go to the office, when I'm going to serve, I know I'm going to get exactly what I need, just as much as I'm giving exactly what I need. So I know that Hurricane Ian was a big force in your world, and that's going to bring me over to my friend, Dr. Ian. You saw hi. So for the Hurricane, who is a diplomat in chiropractic pediatrics and an instructor for the International Chiropractic, the ICPA, let's just say that. You've been in practice in South Florida for 12 years. And can you tell us about how joy shows up in your journey as a chiropractor?
I think there are two primary ways that we try to find create joy. One is that it has to come from you, right? It doesn't come to you. It comes from who you are and what you're doing. And so for us, I find that I hate all of the running a business. I hate all of the HR. I don't like any of that stuff. But my joy, my center, everything that lights me up inside is actually working with our patients, our practice members. So when we get to support a mom as she's going through pregnancy and preparing for birth, and then comes in so proud of herself and so filled with excitement that she was able to do something in having a natural birth that she never thought was possible. When I'm working with kids who are now suddenly able to go to school with perfect attendance because they are no longer getting sick. These are the things where I look at it and I'm like, when I'm in this moment working with these people, that's why I'm doing it, right? And that's all of us, right? Any healthcare provider gets into it because we want to serve, we want to give back. So for one, it's being focused on bringing that joy into the interaction with all of our patients. The second thing from a doing perspective is trying to have fun. We are a big Halloween office. Every single year we go full out. Every day, every staff member dresses up in a common theme, and we just have an absolute blast. And it's throughout the year trying to find different opportunities to have fun and keep people excited and interested. And it also helps keep us excited and interested as well.
I love it. So that we go to work, and we go to work to really create joy, spark joy, and enjoy ourselves. Awesome. So I'm going to move on over to my new friend, Lisa. Hi. So in practice for 27 years in 3 different countries, you care for tiny people and their families, teaching about all different kinds of amazing things. So tell us about your experience of joy in practice.
I think that it's developed through every country that I've gone to. I was in Scotland, which was a very serious but funny place, and Sweden, which is very civilized, and then hit New England in the really medical area and found myself odd duck, and I loved it because my patients find our office. They find our office because they're looking for something different. The something different that we can show is the certainty that the body will heal itself. If it's given the right conditions, it will do the absolute best it can.
Yeah.
That thought makes me giddy. It makes me giddy when I head into the office. I have no chance to fail these people because I'm just reconnecting them with everything inside them. And that's joyful. Plus, I love dad jokes. So between the two, we have an office that's constantly laughing, but we also have like Wednesday's Attitude of Gratitude Day. And I know they're going to be asked, and they know they're going to be asked what they're grateful for this week. We have cards that say send out to their friends. We have challenges. How many cards can we get out the door to show gratitude to people that we love? And it just creates the vibe. And there's people who come in, look around, say nope, and they just reassign themselves somewhere else.
Right.
And we've ended up with just such a lovely, heartfelt crowd that I'm able to help support through chiropractic.
And I've even knowing you for a couple of days, I've experienced that feeling of gratitude, and just that would be the word that I would use to describe you, just grateful and supportive. Really, it's contagious. And on yesterday's show, we were talking about the difference between happiness and joy, and how joy has a momentum behind it. It's like it bubbles out of you. It's a state of being. Happiness feels a little bit more like contentment to me. Joy feels like I can't help but giggle and skip to my beat, so.
Nice put.
Thanks. I've written a couple books. So, and when I lose my sense of joy in practice, I find a kid and I'll ask them about the tooth fairy or Santa Claus. Seriously, because their quest for wondering and imagination and believing in these magical ideas and concepts, it brings me to a joyful place. And I always say, if you're feeling down and blue, find a kid and ask them about the tooth fairy, and it'll just lift you up. Especially around the holidays, you can do the same thing with Santa Claus. Santa and the tooth fairy, they're very powerful in my world. So, I want to move on over to Dr. Kristen. So, hi, I'm so glad that you're here. And one of the one of the most joyful things about this show is getting to meet new people and experience new viewpoints on the joy of practice. So, with over 20 years, you're passionate about facilitating ease in birth and recently started teaching advanced prenatal work through the ICPA and dynamic body balancing, which sounds really beautiful to me. In your spare time, you embrace the Texan stereotype and can be found riding your horse. So I'm guessing that joy has something to do with horseback riding and babies. Tell us about it.
At the same time.
Although that could happen, right? No. Tell us a bit about joy in your world.
So I think really the joy comes from connection. It's that deep connection with the people that walk into our space that, yes, we help them through their troubled times, but we also, share the happiness of graduation and losing the first tooth and being there for the joys in their life. And we celebrate those. I just recently hired another associate, and instead of going home and memorizing scripts and this is how you work with your clients, I told her to go watch Paw Patrol and learn the names of the characters so she could relate to our clients. And so you'll find us adjusting Rocky and Chase and Rubble and all of the Paw Patrol characters on a regular basis, or maybe Iron Man comes into the office that day. So we have fun, and we try to have things in our office that promote joy within our pediatric clients especially, and within our moms. But we have kaleidoscopes in the office, and there's nothing more special than watching a kid look into a kaleidoscope for the first time and seeing the magic inside. And so when we make those connections with those kids on their level and get down on the floor with them and play with them and be part of their lives, it's just an amazing place to be.
I want to come and experience it. It sounds incredible. So I want to go to one more question because you seem brilliant. What are the signals in your world when joy needs a light shined on it? How do you know that this is the time where we need to re-implement joy in the practice? Or do you even get to that point? Is it a continuum?
Just preparing for this talk, it made me focus in on all of those little joyful things that we see every day. And I really focused on, that's a joyful moment. We should talk about that. Or that's a joyful moment. And I think you just perpetuate that when you are who you are and you love what you do and you connect with your people. And
there are so many moments of grace in practice with kids. One that I'm thinking of a couple months ago, one of my 3-year-olds, I was adjusting her pregnant mom, and she looked over at me adjusting her pregnant mom, and she said, "Dr. Doty, you take such wonderful care of my mommy." I'm like, adjusting them up. It's kind of like, I remember when I got married and I was in a horse and buggy and I stepped off of the horse and buggy and all of the eyes turned to me, and that feeling that it's like a wave of energy that hit me, right? It's one of those moments in my life that I'll never forget. And when a kid says something like that, or when a kid takes my hands, especially kids who move differently through the world, take my hand and put it where they want my hand to go for their adjustment, it takes my breath away. And that to me is that's what everything is set for those moments, because you never know when you're going to get them, right?
I had a 2-year-old this week that has never liked her adjustment. She's had severe torticollis. Her neck was very crooked when she came in. She's been like that for 2 years. And this week she got up on the table and wanted to go first. When that happens, it just melts your heart.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's
huge, because you know that she is doing better. She's feeling it. She's seeing the results.
What would you say to a mom who has a 2-year-old who has torticollis, and the doctor, their doctor who they choose to listen to as their primary healthcare provider? Nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that. What would you say to that mom about their 2-year-old going to a chiropractor?
It works. It works. They heal. They get better.
Yeah.
Outside of chiropractic, there's very few in the medical community who address the structure. And when the structure and the foundation aren't right, the house is going to be crooked. If your foundation isn't level, you're going to have cracks in your ceiling. And we address the structure and we address the nervous system to maintain that structure in the right way. And when we can address both the structure and the nervous system and fix how their brain is holding their body in space, it fixes it for a lifetime.
Hi, it's me, Dr. Jody Dinnerman, your Practice Joy Show host. Thanks so much for watching this episode of the Practice Joy Show. You are officially on commercial break, which means one thing around here: it's time for some gift giving. We get how overwhelming private practice can be, and our overwhelm tools are so simply stated and lovingly delivered. They're bound to leave you smiling. You may be one of our audience members looking to increase joy in a spot or two around the practice. You may be overflowing with joy, but have some room for efficiency with systems. Either way, in our world, you're worth celebrating. We're going to send you 3 days of gifts, which will end up right in your inbox. Your day one gift is all about time management and schedule flow. Adding these time tools are going to let you get out of the office at least 30 minutes earlier each day so that you have more time to enjoy outside of the office. On day 2, I'm going to send you a free copy of my first book, Staffless. This quick read Joy Sparker will provide real deal copy-paste solutions for practice front desk systems. And then on day 3, we will conclude the gifting with some practice mindset goodies. Our intention is to pamper you with joy, as we know that a more joyful you equals a more joyful community. Then we can rest assured that our mission is being accomplished, to spread joy like wildfire to practices worldwide. So here we go. Come on over to thepracticejoyshow.com to get your 3 days of gifting. You can also use our QR code. Just open up that smartphone of yours, go to your camera, point and click, and you'll be taken right on over to thepracticejoyshow.com. Once you get to that page, you will see a quick capture form to collect your name, email, and number. Give us your deets and we'll send you the goods. And now, back to the show. And if our audience members are listening to what we're saying and you have no idea what we're talking about, either find me on social media or find one of my friends who's sitting on this platform with me today and say, I need a chiropractor for my family. It's become such a norm for every family within the U.S., at least. This is where I'm familiar with healthcare, to have a family dentist and a family pediatrician. And my first question when I meet any new mom is, who's your family chiropractor? It's the assumption is made, well, everybody has a family chiropractor. You have a dentist, don't you? You have a podiatrist, don't you? Well, you got to have a chiropractor, and now you do. And then I hand them my card. And just like you were saying, there may be families who come to see me and my office it's kind of a weird place. There are kids running around. There are diapers and wipes and nursing and burping, and there's all kinds of stuff going, music. And some people walk in and say, this isn't for me. And I have a Rolodex filled with chiropractors who it may be a better fit for them to go to the person down the street that specializes in X, Y, and Z. So are you ready? So I'm really excited to speak with Dr. Marcia. You're on a mission to empower families to become the hero of their health journey. I love that. Let's just start with that. What does that mean?
We have two different views of health. One is outside in and one is inside out. And through my own health journey, I started to realize that there is no diagnosis. There's nothing that can happen to you that cannot work for you. And that life is not happening to you, it's happening for you. And through that, I want to be that guide for families, for couples, to become the hero and not take that hero position myself, as many healthcare practitioners do.
So what do you do if somebody's like, you fixed me, Dr. Marcia, you're so good at what you do? What do you say to them?
Yeah, super awkward. So since I work, I work in the fertility and preconception space.
Snorted.
We just got that, right? I snorted. Working with fertility, when people are like, that's the doctor that got me pregnant. I'm like, that's awkward. No, I didn't. I wasn't there. Yeah. But so yeah, they say that, and I said, I wasn't there, no part of it. So you did the work. And I feel like that is our job as healthcare leaders and providers, is to give the power back to the people that are coming to see us and not take it from them. We're told trust birth, but you need me to get you pregnant. You need me to give you this or give you that. And so I just changed the dialogue.
So how do you change the dialogue? And this is kind of a deep question, without offending the speaker. How do you, and I know that you're good at doing this. How do you suggestively change the direction of the tone of the conversation when they say, Dr. Marcia, you flipped my baby? Like, there's a whole lot to unpack in that statement, right? So how do you do it without being offensive, and how are you kind about it?
Well, I think it's a lot in my education. So as I'm talking to practice members, one of the first things that we educate on is the science of epigenetics. And so genetics is that, it's old, from 2000, they believe genes cause disease. Well, now we know that genes can predispose but not predetermine what is going on in your body. So in education and helping people understand that, yes, you may have, this epigenetic infertility cause. So there might be a reason you're not getting pregnant, or you're having fertility challenges. But guess what? There are factors that we can do to help your body express differently. And the chiropractic adjustment is at the core foundation of that, because all the nutrition you want to take in, all the things that you want to do, if you do not have a nervous system that can take that in and actually understand it and be able to put it back out into the world, you're going to chase symptoms forever.
And I think that's where a lot of confusion comes in what chiropractic is, right? And on one hand, we can give the most beautiful, or we can serve or have the most beautiful adjustment come through the experience on the table. But if somebody leaves and eats Burger King 3 times a day and drinks a keg of beer and smokes a pack of cigarettes, they're not doing such service, and they're just going to keep creating subluxation after subluxation. Let me unpack what that means. Subluxation is the condition of less light. Sub meaning less, then lux is the root word of light, and ation is the condition of. So in my understanding of chiropractic, when there's stress that's stored in the central nerve system, in the peripheral nerve system, in the spine, it creates this dissonance and this distortion, and there's less ease and less connection in the body. And chiropractors address that disconnection, that dis-ease, through the spine. That's where our education, some of us go outside of the spine, some of us focus just on the segment, some of us just focus on the top parts, some of us focus on the bottom parts, but the subluxation is the core of what we have in common as chiropractors. So, and I hope that I'm honoring my fellow brothers and sisters in chiropractic in saying that way. We've talked before about how if the body is so perfect, then why do we subluxate, right? And my mentor, Dr. Sue Brown, taught me that subluxation is truly an experience to better know thyself. And we can go on and on about that. And when somebody says to me, well, why is chiropractic a center point of your life? I say, because when I get adjusted, I feel like I fit in my skin. I feel joy bubbling out of me. So to have that open dialogue with our practice members, with our community members, with our community leaders, with the MD down the street, with the OBGYN down the street, I think can be a very powerful thing. So, and back to joy, right? So when we come back, can you do me a favor and just define epigenetics? Am I saying it right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So epigenetics, epi is around or surrounding, and then of course genetics. So there's your gene, and then there is the expression of the gene. And the gene is focused. Bruce Lipton has one of my favorites when he says, imagine love and just feel love. And then imagine you go watch the news for 5 minutes. Of course, the wrong news, not the right news. And you feel different, right? So your brain is your chemist. Your brain is giving these hormones through your entire system based on what you're thinking. So you can believe that the world is this dangerous place, or you can believe that it's a loving place. And all of your proof is going to come back to justify your experience. So epigenetics is the science of understanding how your lifestyle factors influence the expression of those genetics.
Wow. Yeah, I want to go get a book for kind of So I think we've connected with everybody here, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to open up. We have about 10 minutes left. I'd like to open up the conversation to anything while we've been sitting here as new friends that you've thought to yourself, I got to touch on that.
Yeah, Dr. Jody, one of the things that I really loved about your definition of subluxation is that it challenges what most people are going to think about chiropractic and why a baby would get adjusted.
Right.
Because the public in general has a concept of what it is that a chiropractor does. We're the people who crack their bones and then make them feel better, right? That is what your general person, if they're out in the world, is going to perceive about our office. Our offices, and I've gotten to know everybody here for years, look very similar in the vibe that you feel when you walk in, and it has nothing to do with clicking or popping a single joint, because we don't do that with babies. It's super gentle. It's like holding a really ripe tomato in your hand before you would actually go through it. They're mostly space and cartilage and this tissue called fascia, and we just open that up so that things can talk on their insides. And I think that's probably for a lot of moms who don't know if it's safe or even that it does something for to bring their little baby, brand new baby to a chiropractor. That takes a lot of trust, right? Because they watch TikTok and they saw the guy do the pop and like, oh, right? And they're like, I don't want that to happen to my baby. And so if they understand the subluxation definition that you have about that innate expression, being able to work and help everything work the way they want to. But Marcia says we're perceiving our outside world and we're trying to help that integrate. That's a very different purpose, not only just like within chiropractic, within healthcare. And so I think it's important, like that's why I love the ICPA, is that it's not just the people sitting on the stage. I guarantee you go to any doctor in that organization, you're going to feel that same kind of vibe. They have a whole, discoverkidshealth.com is the easy way I always remember the website, but they have a Find a Chiropractor link. You can find anybody, no matter where you are in the world, who's an ICPA doctor who sees health in the body this way too.
There's such a thing, what I call the baby-led adjustment. And when I'm working with a baby, I hold them and I smell them and I connect my heart to their hearts and I let them lead me because they're so innately connected. And truly the amount of force that I use is the amount of force that you would put on your eyelid when your eyes closed. And I always say they're adjusting me just as much as I'm adjusting them. And we've seen what most people would call miracles. It's a commonplace. It's the I get thrown off when I hear the words from little ones like, you're so wonderful to my mommy, Dr. Doty, right? But it's I'm used to, I expect the miracles in the adjustment because that's chiropractic. Simply what we're doing is restoring the optimal expression of love, of innate, So does anybody else feel like there's something that they really want to connect on or share on while we're here?
For a lot of people, they're somewhat scared to take their baby to a chiropractor because of a lot of the stereotypes that are out there, like John said. But I think we also need to remember that with a vaginal birth, whatever mom's vagina went through, the baby's head went through. Right. they have been through a lot of force. They have been through a lot of intensity, and sometimes they need help working through that. And that's where we come in. And that's where, these babies that are fussy and crying and colicky and struggling, and our moms and our dads are struggling because they're not sleeping and they're crying and they're suffering. And we can get them back on track to have a joyful postpartum and a joyful beginning to their life.
Can you imagine, for the people who are watching this at home, the experience of having somebody rooting you on, saying, we want you to have a joyful postpartum. And that's everything. I think to myself, if I had a chiropractor when I was a little kid, how much of a difference it would have changed, right? How much of a difference it would have created. And to your point, a lot of people will say, well, I had a C-section, so my baby didn't go through that. And to my point, I would say, we're pumped into life through the birth process. And if you sit in a chair and you're tapping your foot to your inborn rhythm. And this inborn rhythm is usually adapted from your mother in utero. And that inborn rhythm and that inborn impulse is pumped into life when you come out. And it's the rhythm at which we breathe. It's the rhythm at which we cry. It's the rhythm at which we digest. It's the rhythm at which we speak, at which we sing, at which we dance. And when we're not pumped in through life, through the birth canal, and we're airlifted through C-section, which is more commonplace than we like to think, we are missing that entire rhythmic experience, that rhythm set. And what I see clinically and what I experience personally is these kids their rhythm is off. That's what it feels like under my hand, right? That's what it felt like to my core when I went through that kind of an experience. So isn't it amazing that we can give the opportunity to help reestablish or reconnect with that rhythm?
So Louise Hay also says that, miracles are a shift in perception. So if we have the ability to shift a perception and we notice a miracle because we now see things differently, the chiropractic adjustment has this amazing opportunity to create miracles every single day because so many people shift. I mean, I had a practice member who was smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day and stopped cold turkey. And he said, I don't know, I just felt like I was doing better. And we have these miracles, but it's because your spine is working better, your brain works better. And so much of proactive healthcare, again, being hero-led for practice members, when someone comes in and they have their baby, or, I had a guy sitting in my practice, whole pregnancy, his wife and him were told you have a less than 3% chance of pregnancy. And she got pregnant. And I said, so are you excited yet? And he said, I'll be excited when I'm holding the baby. And, labor happens and she has the baby and he's just so forlorn, getting adjusted this entire time because obviously it's mommy and dad that we work with in the preconception time. It wasn't until he came back into the office for the baby's first check and he's sitting there and he's holding the baby and just looking at the baby. And I said, is it real now? And he looked up at me and he goes, I never thought this day would come. And to just see people step into that power to be like, oh my gosh, like this thing that even though it sounded really great when you talked about it, it wasn't true for me yet.
It can't be.
Right.
Yeah,
and
it can't be.
it's an amazing opportunity to help people evolve in such a beautiful way.
And even to take that a step further and to give the dad permission to let go of that fear so that, the fear doesn't become a participant of the pregnancy. I often have moms come into my practice at the end of their pregnancy because for whatever reason, that's when they're referred to me, right? And they say, what do I do? What do I do? What do I have to do? What's my homework? What's my homework? And my homework to them is always the same. Go home and don't worry until the day that your doctor is saying this is the date that you have to come in. There's no worrying allowed. There's no planning allowed. There's no mindset allowed. Just go enjoy being pregnant. And 9 times out of 10, mom goes home, lets go of all the fear, and the birth works out just the way it's supposed to work out, right? Let go of the worry because the worry becomes the participant in the pregnancy. And how does that set the tone for joy in labor? Labor can be orgasmic. It can be beautiful. Anyway, that's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
I've been told that the energy that the baby is conceived with is the energy that stays with the baby their entire life, which sets you up that much more for doing the prep, doing the work, making sure your nervous system is optimized prior to or during the time that you want to start planning your family, because they can walk with that child the rest of their life.
And some of it is like, just have fun.
Yes,
Like, just go have fun, get pregnant, enjoy your pregnancy, stop worrying. But I think that a lot of us are put in situations where we're measured and poked and prodded and sugared and syruped and all of these things to make sure it's right and it fits and it's, and I got caught up in it myself. So to reconnect with joy over and over.
I love the part where it ripples out. Sometimes they're brought in by the mom, sometimes it's the baby that comes in first. The changes as that child's trajectory changes, the trajectory of the family changes. Stress falls off of the parents, often they get under care. They set off on their trajectory. I feel like just spine by spine, soul by soul, we're elevating the world around us. I think the work done by the people on this stage needs a polite nod of extraordinary.
And with that being said, I'm going to conclude the ICPA episode of the Practice Joy Show. Thanks for being here, you guys.